the inside information that you can learn from these webinars. We're going to wait. Well, right now it's 11 o'clock, so it's the time to start. So let me start with the introductions. Web plan is here, and well, before we go into any further details, let me advance to the housekeeping rules. So water quality on our area. The members of our group is Maria Romero from the Lee County Division of Natural Resources, and Marlene Rodak from the Cocolova chapter, Karen Miller, the Community Outreach Manager from GHD, and from Johnson Engineering, Andy Tilton, and myself, Ernesto Lazo de la Vega, from the Pond Watch Coordinator from the Lee County Highs and Control District. And we have just put together these webinars every month, the first Wednesday of every month. And we'll have another activity, another presentation on the month for July. Today's speaker, Karen Miller. Karen Miller from GHD, and we'll talk about take a vacation from fertilization, why we promote source control fertilizer use, and how we do it. This is a presentation that will be phenomenal because she will be taking care of all these questions about fertilization and fertilizers, and is a very well. Let me let you know her background. So, with over 25 years of experience in education and public relations for environmental and engineering projects, Ms. Miller has managed community outreach activities, including project-specific public forums and community education workshop, including this ones. And I know she's been phenomenal on all these activities. She has developed a curriculum and education materials for a diverse range of subjects, including surface and potable water quality, best management practices for ponds and yard maintenance, roadways, transportation issues, and environmental remediation concerns. Karen is a member of the GHD, I have a hard time with it, Engage Communication and Community Service Lines, and a member of a virtual engagement committee, providing online solutions for public involvement. And I had to tell you, it's a great person to have as a friend because she has been the moderator for this, and she has managed these webinars for a long time, and now this is an opportunity to hear her giving a presentation. So without any further ado, we're gonna just welcome Karen, and I'm gonna stop the sharing here so she can go right into her PowerPoints that she has already prepared for us. Karen, you may take it all with your.
Thanks, Ernesto. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So one of the, I have had the pleasure of being part of the web plan team for quite a while now. So I get to work with Maria and Ernesto and others on that education outreach. But another opportunity I've had is to work with Lee County on their Fertilize Smart Ordinance and the public outreach for that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm actually going to turn off my camera and ask others to do that as well, because I am going to be going out onto the web and showing you some things. So I want to save some bandwidth on that. So we call it Take a Vacation from Fertilization. And what I really wanted to talk to you about today is why we promote source control fertilizer use and how we do it. And mostly about how do we reach out to the community and teach them about these kind of issues. So this Fertilize Smart program is a really, really good example of a good public outreach. So why a fertilizer ordinance? Well, Lee County way back in 2008, since they identified specific water bodies as impaired, decided that a fertilizer ordinance would help lower the nutrient loadings to our surface waters. And they moved forward and built this ordinance. So what does it say? Well, it says, 0, 0, 0 phosphorus and 0 nitrogen in your fertilizer during the banning periods, which is really during our rainy season. But it also says a few other things. Install deflector shields on your spreader. So that's for all year long. And no grass clippings or fertilizer in the ditches, drains, water bodies, roads, etc. That's for all year long. And no fertilizer within 10 feet of a water body. And that is also all year long. So the only thing that is seasonal is that fertilizer ban. And this shows you the blackout dates for the fertilizer. June, July, August, September, right along with our rainy season, we want to use no nitrogen and no phosphorus. So later, they added do your duty and pick up the duty to the ordinance. And this is all year long, because if you look at that statistic up at the top of the screen, every day more than 13 tons of dog waste doesn't get properly disposed of in Lee County. And where does it go? It goes into our waterways. It goes into our sewers. So we're asking people to scoop it, bag it, trash it. Gently remind your neighbors and friends to do the same. And be the police force and spread the word. So we kind of are trying to have fun with it, but it's an important thing. So Maria Romero and I last week had the opportunity to go on a walk the watershed in the city of Fort Myers. And here was a stop that we all made, and everyone in that picture that you see is pointing to some dog poop, believe it or not, other than this guy over here who's pointing to the sky. I'm not sure what he was thinking at the time, but the rest of us were looking at the dog poop. So there was a lot of dog poop, and if you can see the sewer is right there. So it's all going into our water, not a good thing. So what other communities have fertilizer ordinances? Well, Lee County has an ordinance. City of Fort Myers has adopted the Lee County ordinance, so theirs is the same. But all of these other municipalities and counties have their own ordinance. So depending on where you live, you need to check your local website and make sure you know what the ordinance says so that you're complying with it. And they're all just a little different, but very similar to this ordinance. So the fertilizer outreach education has been a cooperative effort funded by Lee County and Sanibel, City of Sanibel. They have been working at this project since probably 2008 and have come up with different ways to promote it, advertise it, get the word out about the ordinance. So the outreach efforts have included TV, outdoor, and direct mail, as well as we have a great website. There's been a lot of developed, and we've done outreach to different community organizations and added a youth education component over at the Imaginarium, the IMAG Museum. Used to be the Imaginarium, now it's the IMAG. There is a display that shows, it's an interactive display that shows where the water goes and helps kids understand how they affect the stormwater. So over the years, there have been different pieces that the county has put together to promote the fertilizer ordinance. And it started out with the Fertilize Smart, and some of you are going to remember Don't Feed the Monster. Actually, the very first two mascots for the fertilizer ordinance were Phosphorus and Nitrogen. And they were two little characters who taught everyone about what is nitrogen and what is phosphorus and why is it bad for your water. And basically what they taught people was nitrogen makes your lawn green. So when it gets into the water, what's it going to do to the algae? The phosphorus makes your lawn grow. And so same thing, what's going to happen when it gets into the water? It's going to make the algae grow. And then the potassium actually helps with disease and root development, and we don't ban that in the ordinance. But the numbers, there's on the bag of fertilizer that you buy, the percentages show the percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So there's a picture of one of the Don't Feed the Monster bulletin boards that were up for many years. Now you'll see the newer promotion on those billboards. But we've also come up with some collateral, including a 2-pager that you can find on the website that gives you a lot of tips on fertilizer and how to best use it and how to use it during the ban. As far as public outreach, we've gone and talked to chambers of commerce, to leadership groups, to service organizations like Rotaries, and we've gotten out to about 25 zip codes to talk to people. And if you are interested in having someone come and talk to a group that you belong to, feel free to contact us, and we'd love to come out and talk to your group about water quality in general and how they can help keep our waters clean. So why do we do this? Well, because as much as we hear about all of the nutrients coming from Lake Okeechobee and the other basins in the state, about at least 20%. Now this map is a little bit older, so these numbers could have changed slightly, but about 20% or more come from our own tidal basin along the Caloosahatchee River. So we're trying to target the nutrients that go into our estuaries here locally in Southwest Florida. And what's the really big reason? And we all saw it back in 2018, it was, right? When the algae was everywhere and this ugly green goop was everywhere. And it's not good for our health. It's not good for our canals. It's certainly not good for our tourism and not good for our businesses. So we don't want repeats of this. So we want to do as much as we can to make sure that we keep our water clean. So I wanted to show you a few resources that you can use and go to monitor what's going on. So a lot of governments, including local governments, state governments, are working hard at this water quality issue. If you go to the Aldol bloom site, which many of you know, they started a blue-green algae task force that's made a lot of really important recommendations on what we should be doing about our algae problems. And the state legislature has decided to put quite a bit of money to it. So we're all very excited about that. There's going to be more and more projects coming up around water quality. But if you're interested in what's going on in your local region, you can go to this Aldol Bloom dashboard and take a look at what data is being collected right now. The brown is some older data, but right now there's some newer data on the site. And if you click on the blue dots, you can see there's information that comes up. So this is at Orange River Manatee Park. They have found an algal bloom there and they are sampling for it. And DEP is analyzing that. So this is a really great site if you're wondering where the algae is and if it's impacting you or your neighborhood, check out this site. The other great site, Lee County now has our water story up on their site, and there is tons of information here. And you can see it starts with an introduction about the waters of Lee County, and there's lots of information on here. You can look through what are the problems, and as we scroll, you'll see some of the same things we're talking about there. There's the blue-green algae. Gives what are the causes, and stormwater runoff is a big one. And when we use fertilizer, it goes into our stormwater. So that's part of where we're contributing. But really important is, what is Lee County doing? And you can scroll through here and they talk about what TMDLs are, what a basin management action plan is. And you can actually go look at the basin. We have 2 basin management action plans in Lee County. And a basin management action plan is a plan to clean up waterways. And there are several partners that belong to it, including FDEP and a lot of the local governments. I'm going to see if this link works. There we go. So when you go to this, you can see where's the location of the Basin Management Action Plan. I don't know why this isn't working, but here's an overview. And then you can look at projects. I'm gonna go out of this one and come back in because I want to show you the other site. That one is not working well today. It usually works, but not today. So let's go back to what is Lee County doing. I'm going to show you the West Coast BMAP. So down here again, we're going to go to Everglades West Coast. And this one I know was working earlier. So this will show you the location. So here's where the Basin Management Action Plan is low. You know, those are the areas that they're targeting. And then you can read about the projects and look more. And every one of these dots is a different project. If you click on it, it'll give you more information on this one. The lead entity, Bonita Springs. And it was actually a project to upgrade some swales for water quality. But there's many different projects that are either completed or ongoing, and look through that and see what everyone's doing. I'm going to go back to this site again. This is the Lee County Water, and actually look at what our other agencies doing. Click through here and you can look and see what is South Florida Water Management District doing? What is FDEP doing? What is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers doing? And here you got to click through to the Blue-Green Algae Task Force and the Red Tide Task Force. So there's just a lot going on throughout the state and locally of, you know, governments really working hard to clean up our waterways. So let's go back. The other thing that we're working hard on is, of course, the Fertilize Smart program, which I'm talking to you about today. And you can see our Fertilize Smart site. It's really, you know, they just upgraded this site about 1.5 years ago. Really nice site. I'm going to try showing you the newest advertisement here. So maybe Maria or Ernesto, you can let me know if you can hear this when it goes on.
We can see the image, but the sound is not that good. It's broken. But it's beautiful.
So, and there was my worry, my internet connection was getting a little unstable there. So there's other things you can look at on this site, how, you know, you can look at how water runoff works. There's just a lot of good things for homeowners, how to fertilize smart, and for anyone who misses the monster, you can watch that ad again on this site by clicking through, and it'll take you to YouTube. I'm not going to do that today because I think my internet's a little too unstable to show you that. But if you miss that monster, and I know a lot of people do, I don't know how many people have said to me, I like the monster better, but he was fun to watch. So you could go to the website and see the monster again. The other thing I wanted to show you was what we're doing with WetPlan. And, we try to show you this site nearly every time we have a pondside talk. But today we had something really special we wanted to show you. We have a pond competition that is just opening up. I think was yesterday the first day it opened up, Maria, or is it today? So here's the competition. There's a competition for both ponds that need some help or ponds that look great. So no matter what your pond looks like, there's a chance for you to participate. So if you scroll down, find the little Lee County Pond competition graphic here, hit the participate button, and then you're going to see some rules and regulations. Well, I'm interrupted here, so we're not going to see it right now. I'll go back to the WetPlan site. You'll see some rules and regulations, and there's a little bit of a form that you have to fill out. But that's how you can enter to win the contest, either a mini makeover if your pond needs some help, or win bragging rights on, the most beautiful Lee County pond. If you have any questions about that, if you go to use it and it's not working for you, contact any one of us on the WetPlan group and we can help you out with that. So let's go back to our presentation. So, I'm telling you about all these great things that, our local governments, our state governments, and there's even money coming from federal government to work on our water quality issues. So there's a whole lot going on in Florida, and especially in Southwest and South Florida as far as water quality. But what can we do? Well, what we can do is keep the fertilizer out of the water and do our yard maintenance in responsible ways that keep the nutrients out of the water. So there's other local governments, like I said, all of these websites. If you live in one of these localities, you should check out their website and check out your own ordinance. And then we've been going around to the community and asking people to take the Fertilize Smart Clean Water Pledge. So we ask people to do the 00s during June to September. No fertilizer within 10 feet of the water bodies. No grass clippings and ditches, drains, water bodies. Sweep up spilled fertilizer and install those deflector shields. Talk with your lawn care provider or HOA board to encourage them to take the Clean Water Pledge. And again, clean up that pet waste. So when we go out and talk with people, what we found out is about 30% of people do their own lawn care. The rest either have a lawn care provider or an HOA who takes care of their lawn. So we're asking people, talk to your lawn care providers and talk to your HOAs to make sure that they're taking the Clean Water Pledge. Maria does a lot of outreach to the lawn care providers, and they do go through training. So they hear this message as well. HOAs, there's not a standard training that they go through. So we'd like to count on, our citizens to talk to their HOAs and neighborhood managers and ask them to take that pledge. So are we getting our message out? Well, in talking with people, almost 60% knew about the fertilizer ordinance and had a good idea of what it meant. So we're thinking that's pretty good, especially considering we have, somewhat of a transient population, and then we get all those snowbirds and people like that. So hitting 60% means we are reaching people. Where have they seen the ads? Mostly on TV. And how many are willing to take the Clean Water Pledge? Well, it hovers right around that 30%, which seems low, but when you think about only 30% of people actually do their own lawn care, that's pretty good. So people are listening and changing their habits as far as lawn care. So in conclusion, before I turn it back over to Ernesto, because he has some data to show you that shows whether this is working or not, we just want to say, the fertilizer ordinance is turning 13 years old this year. So we've been out talking to people for quite a long time about this, and it seems like we're reaching everyone and they're starting to listen. We've expanded our outreach through various media and public education forums, and people are listening as far as the poll results that we're getting back. People are committed to fertilizing smart and keeping our waters clean. And the fertilizer blackout period is impacting nutrient levels in a good way. And Ernesto's going to show you some of that information in just a few minutes. So if you have any questions, there was one thing I did forget to show you, and I'm going to go back and show it to you now. Is we're going to go to, let's see, we're going to go to the LeagueGov site, Natural Resources, and I want to show you the fertilizer calculator that Maria Romero designed for us in Lee County. And if you go to the leecounty.gov or leaguegov.com, Natural Resources, find this fertilizer calculator, click through. It will come up for you and it'll help you calculate the fertilizer. The new and interesting thing about this is you can switch the language now. So you can get it in English or in Spanish. And Maria has demonstrated this for us before in past Pondside Talks. So if you're interested in learning how to use it, go back to the Pondside Talk where Maria was our speaker. And you can watch that again and learn how to use the Fertilize Smart calculator. But we're real excited to have it in 2 languages there. So I almost forgot, Maria, sorry about that, but I'm glad I remembered. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ernesto, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Karen. This was really exciting, and I'm glad that you presented the optimistic last conclusions where there were good messages and information. I'm sorry, let me put my face so people can see that I'm talking not with a. So I am so also I want to add a little bit because we have time. It's 11:30 and I can add not so much data, but I'm so happy to share also good news about what we have learned from the last years with this fertilizer ordinance. In fact, this screen that you're looking right now, before I complicate your life with a graph, let me tell you that the fertilizer ordinance was placed in 2008. And we did a study in Pond Watch because Pond Watch is a volunteer monitoring program. They bring samples to us and we run the analysis of nutrients, phosphorus, nitrogen. And in this case, we had 4 years before the fertilizer was in place and 4 years after, and we compared those two, and it was a significant difference after the fertilizer was in place that reduced the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen in the waters of Lee County because of the fertilizer ordinance. So I was so happy to, and we published that, and some other counties are using that publication, that scientific publication we put at the Florida Scientist, and use that to fight and to present evidence for this activity that works. Another thing, okay, back to my graphic here. This is another Pond Watch result. Nitrogen in the form of nitrates and nitrites, here it says NOx. That's what we're analyzing the water samples from pond watchers who brought it here. And throughout the year, I have here like a band of the year. The orange one is January to May, and that's where the fertilizer ordinance says that you can fertilize. June to September in green, you should not be fertilizing. And again, back in October, you can buy. So I thought about, well, what about the difference if we put a lot of fertilizer in May, what happens in June? And that's where this top graphic shows that in some cases, June has lower in some cases, not so evident. There's not, except for this big guy here, but there's not so evident. But when you go to September, October down here, you find ponds that has increased tremendous in October, the amount of fertilizer that has been placed in the pond in October, and that has run into the pond. So that's kind of bad news. But the good news is the following slide, because that was in 2000, I'm sorry, that's in 2011. That's a few years after the fertilizer was in place. This phenomenon was happening in some ponds. Now, after 2011, which was, you see this huge red mark here, which is the difference between September and October, October being higher number, September being a lower number. That's the reason why the negative number is down here. That's a huge bad boy. But the following year was less and less and less and less. So now, of course, except for this year, it could be the hurricanes or something else. But my message is that the numbers has been decreasing on the gap between September, October, September, May, and June. That is great news. So people finally moving from this big difference on the month of no fertilization versus the fertilization has been decreasing. So now we finally leveling it out. The use of fertilization is not dictated by this ban on a day when you have to. So that is a good news. And I want to just end up with a good, happy story about that. The fertilizer ordinance has worked. The people are learning how to fertilize. Things are really improving in our area about this fertilization effect on the ponds. And I would like to have anybody else who wants to participate or add comments on this fertilizing use. The few things that I might say about that we have learned from Pond Watch is that fertilizer is not just in the chemicals that you add into the lawn, also the irrigation. When you use reclaimed water and that has nutrients already present, that goes into the lawn, and as a fertilizer is already present in the water, you might have a lot of nutrients there. The problem is when you have a lot of the water is already soaked, the soil is soaked with water, the new water that you continue adding, it will run on top of that moist soil right into the ponds. And that's where nutrients may be stimulated by this new reclaimed water that is loaded with nutrients. And that's a topic for another meeting about the reclaimed water use, but just wanted to make you aware of that. Other than that, I think we can also go back to our Pond Watch competition, and I want to share, let me allow me to just open this. I think it's a great activity that we have now opportunity to share the good things that are happening in some ponds with this contest. Is showing that what is going good in some ponds, we can share that information with others, and what is also going bad, we can use that as a tool to learn what not to do. And I think that is a crucial event. Next week, in fact, I should go and open the next week, no, next month, we'll have a new guest speaker, is Lynn Getty from the University of Florida. She is a plant pathologist, plant is expert on exotic plants and native plants, and she will be presenting a lot of new information about new plants that can be used for littoral plants, some exotics that has been taken out of control and they are in our neighborhoods, and we have to keep an eye on those. And that's kind of the things that she's going to be talking next month on the first Wednesday of the month of July. Is an excellent speaker. I love her presentation. She got a lot of pictures and then identification keys, how to identify these exotic plants. So with that, we have the website, the web plant blog, website there. Also, if you have any questions, please send us an email. We'll be happy to answer. And also, we can also share and then send those questions to experts that we have in our team. And it's not just about fertilizer, but we also have engineers like Andy into erosion control, water quality, plant, exotic plant identification, native plants, native plants that can be used. So it's a nice wealth of information that we have in this group to share this with you. Anybody who has any questions, let me open and see the sharing the chat. Let me see. We're pretty much clear with any questions there. No. And I think this has been a very short one because the material that we have has been very well presented by Karen. Thank you very much, Karen. And without any more further ado, we also planning on doing something like virtual visits to ponds, especially when the ones we are selected from the competition. We might take a virtual tour that will be going with the camera on the pond, walking and then see all these details and then share those, put it in a video format so everybody can see why the pond has been selected as a good pond and then why the pond has been selected as a bad pond. Not bad, pond in need for help. That's what we're gonna say. With that, I think we have pretty much collected enough information. I've been talking for several minutes now. If there's any other questions, I see there was the documents can be found at the website or webplan.org. Karen, do you have anything else to add, or Andy or Maria?
No, I just want to encourage people, if you have a group that you belong to, a Rotary Club, another kind of social group, or even we can come out and talk to your HOAs. We'd be happy to come out and talk about the fertilizer use and how better to use it. We have a lot of experts that we can bring with us. So public engagement and public outreach is really an important part of our water quality. Our water quality issues are not just about water. And Maria and I were lucky enough, like I said, to do that walk the watershed last week. And there's a lot of issues that affect water, including homelessness, including housing issues, including just public education, where people just don't know any better. They don't realize that their dog's business is going into the water. They just really don't. It's not people doing it on purpose. So reaching out, teaching people about water quality and teaching them about how best to take care of their yards and their pets and all of that is really important to our water quality. So if you have a group that you want us to talk to, let us know and we'll work it out.
Karen, there is a question in the chat. How can people contact Karen to give presentation in their community?
So, well, they could either contact me at my email, and I'll put that in the message here right now, or go through our wetplan site, and that in the request will go to wetplan.org, and we can make sure we get to you and get an answer to you and get out and talk to your group.
Correct. In fact, I just put the wetplaninfo@gmail.com. That is an email that it goes to all of us. And the beauty of that is that we can take a chance to answer, and all of us we can answer, or just a few that feel very strong about an answer to give that. So it's definitely is a opportunity to contact us via the wetplan website. Okay, I think we have covered a lot in 40 minutes of presentation. I think it has been good. And I want to thank everybody for participating and attending. I also want to thank Karen and Maria for putting. You want to know something funny? It's like every Wednesday that we're putting this together, something happened. Maria just had a fire alarm in her building, and she has to run outside, and there was all kind of issues right before. I'm talking 10:40, 10 to 10:50. It was 10 minutes before, and it was all. And the week before, Karen had another issue. So it's a stressful, but
I lost my power. Yeah, technology is great when it works, right?
when it works, correct. And these are unpredictable things that happen, but we live on. And I thank you so much for you all being so patient with these programs. Okay, so I'll stop the recording. And if anybody else have a question, can email us. And in the meantime, have a lunch and have a lively, lovely, lovely week and summer. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.